Hi there, this is Sarah with Foster Your Heart Out, and I need to set this somewhere so it's not shaking. Okay, so today has been a long day for me, and I am still in the car because I have a little one asleep in the car seat. We're sitting outside the house, so we're gonna stay in the car for a while. Facebook hasn't been that fun today. Obviously, we got a lot of attention with the last post for Foster Your Heart Out with C being removed from my house. So that post is deleted because the profanity and the ugliness, not only directed at me, but directed at other foster parents, was so out of hand that it's not worth being up there. So I wanted to go ahead and take a second to post a video, not to defend myself or explain much more of the story, but to, I think, share my heart a little bit more, because if you don't understand all the pieces, you can't understand the posts or the intent behind the posts, and I think that that's important. So, two parts to this little video. Number one, more of the story regarding C, and number two, what are you going to do about it? Okay, so number one, C was removed from my home because I asked to have him gone. It was not the first straw, okay? It was the first time that the cardinal one big rule was broken. And the thing is I'm not going to go into detail about the incident and the abuse that happened that made that rule obviously come crashing down. But it was serious. It was very, very serious, to where I was unable to protect myself, and I was unable to protect the smaller children in my home. And if I cannot protect the smaller children in my home, cannot protect myself, then I'm not doing my job as a mom, because my job as a mom is to keep everyone safe. So when I am no longer capable of that, because someone is bigger or stronger or more aggressive than me, then it's time for me to realize that I'm not capable of what I'm trying to do. So there was a month of many incidents. It was not the first time the police were called. It wasn't the second or the third. There were multiple incidences. And I didn't blast those all over Facebook because, unlike some people are accusing me, I don't share too much of the story. I share my point of view, and I share my experiences as a foster parent and as a person. And the reason I do that is because foster care isn't really talked about, because foster parents are put in this weird situation where if we talk too much, we're sharing the kid's story that's not ours. But if we don't talk enough, then nobody knows anything about fostering. And unless you're in the life, it's easy to ignore. And so the Facebook page was started because I want foster care to be a conversation. Nobody gets into foster care for their ego either. The comments of me using these stories to get Facebook likes and Facebook famous, you guys, first of all, there's like 30,000 followers. We're not talking 30 million. And second of all, my life isn't on Facebook. I've never been out and been recognized. Like, people don't come up to me in public. I don't get special seats at restaurants. Like, this is not a goal of mine in life, is to be Facebook famous. My goal is to share my heart and share the journey of foster care with as many people as possible. But as far as doing it for my ego, that's just absurd. Like, that's just crazy. I think in the world we live in right now, there's a really big, I don't know, priority put on how many Facebook likes you get. For me, it's not a goal of mine. I'm not making any money off of this. I'm literally just trying to start conversations about foster care. Okay, so back to C. There were a lot of incidents, and people keep coming back to the first time. And again, I'm not going to go into what happened because you don't need to know. But you do need to know that it was not a one-time incident where we had perfect behavior, easy peasy, and then all of a sudden a little incident happened and I threw the stuff out. The second thing is the picture. What some people saw was a picture of bags thrown out by the curb. And you guys, that's so not it at all. I documented everything because, considering the circumstances, I needed to document everything. There was pictures of the bags open and everything that I included, and then pictures to make sure that everyone knew that everything was together. The reason why they were on the curb is because the caseworker that we couldn't get a hold of didn't know the situation. Someone was going to come and pick him up, and I wanted to make sure that nothing was left behind. I wanted everything together. The paper bag on the side was because it was getting late. This whole ordeal, this wasn't like a throw you out, call the cops. This was call crisis managers, call caseworkers, all of this while C is locked out of my house because of the danger. And then finally call the police because it was not de-escalating with time and with space. So by the time the police got there, it was about 5 hours in. And then it took them probably another 3 hours to get everybody that they needed to get a hold of. And so we missed dinner. And so the paper bag that people were really worried about was actually the fact that I went in and I made like 4 sandwiches and packed as much food, because even though he was still being aggressive towards me, I wanted to feed him. So people saying that I threw something of his just in a grocery bag and threw it out there. Yep, it was food. And again, I'm not doing this to defend myself, because the people that are closest to me understood the situation because they walked hand in hand with me for that whole month. And then we're getting to the point where people say, like, if this was your bio son, you wouldn't do that. And that's so true. If it was my bio son, I would not have done that, because if my bio son did the things that happened in the previous 30 days, my bio son's butt would have been on an airplane to my parents' ranch in Montana, and he would have been living in a small town, being homeschooled, learning how to work hard while receiving intensive therapy. If it was my bio son, he would have been in a specialized school that was able to address his emotional needs just as much as his academic needs, because they were very severe. And I did everything I could, but my hands were tied. I called treatment centers, I called inpatients, I called outpatients, I called the different camps for troubled teens, you name it, I called it. And there was nothing I could do. There was no options for me as far as getting him the help that he needed. Within a month, I had 2 evaluations that I was able to have completed with him, 0 therapy appointments. None. And I worked my butt off trying to get him as much help as I could. If he was my bio son, he probably wouldn't have been allowed to be at home, like I said, the 30 days prior, but I would have had options. And with a foster care teen, I didn't have options. I wasn't able to take him and put him in the car and take him to an inpatient facility and say, something is wrong, he needs help. Snoring. And again, I'm not trying to give too many details, because as much as people say that I'm sharing a story that's not mine, I really don't think that I'm sharing too much. There was a point where I was sitting in a school parking lot begging the ambulance to take him, begging them, saying, you don't understand, he needs help and there's no way for me to get him help. Can you please take him to the emergency room and have him processed as an inpatient? Because if he was my bio son and he was doing the things that he was doing, that's what I would have done. I wouldn't have just been able to call the cops. I would have had options before. So that's what's so frustrating, is that it's like, you treat fosters differently than you would your biological kids, but that's because I don't have the options for foster teens that I do for my biological kids. I begged the ambulance, they talked to the police, they consulted, and they said because I was not the parent, just a legal guardian, I was unable to have him committed unless he was willing to go. And obviously, he said no. So that's a little bit more to the story. There's a whole month's worth, and I'm not going to share it all, and I'm not going to explain every single action that led up until the crisis point, but there was a crisis point. And it happened, and it's heartbreaking that it happened, and I don't believe that I could have done any more than I did. The other thing is tossing him out to the curb. The Follow-up is something that I haven't shared again for the last 10 months because I was specifically told not to by DFACS. They explained that sharing this side of the story could really discourage people from fostering teens. And so I went with that for a really, really long time until I realized that it's not fair for me to say that I want to share the good, bad, and the ugly if I'm not sharing it. Another reason I waited so long was because we're still in contact. That's the other thing that people are jumping to conclusions saying that I kicked him out and he doesn't know how I feel. You guys don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, you don't know the contact that we still have, where I have made sure that I'm allowed to keep up with him and be a part of his life in a safe way, in a way that's not influencing the younger children. So again, a little bit more info there. And then the second thing, the big point is, I guess, what are you going to do about it, right? You can be really angry at the way that things happened with me and C, and you can be angry that I have a Facebook page talking about foster care, and you can be angry about just everything that I'm doing. That's totally okay. But if you think that you can do it better, then I want you to try. Like, that's the whole point of what I'm doing. I'm not doing this to like make friends and get sympathy, okay? Like, I have enough friends, and I have the people that I care about understand it. I don't have to write posts for them. I can get my sympathies from them if I need it. The thing is that I'm doing this because I want people to see what's going on. I want people to understand what it's like to live in this life, because I feel like you don't really jump into something until you understand it a little bit more, or at least until you have a glimpse behind the curtain. So if you think that I just failed miserably with C, and if you think that I did absolutely everything wrong, then please, there is a teenager in your town who's in the exact same position. And I'm not saying I want you to do better than me to like prove me wrong. I want you to do it because I care about these kids. And if you care about them enough to sit on a Facebook page and type away for hours and hours and comment 50 million times underneath every single comment, then you have the time to sign up. Maybe not be a foster parent, but at least be big brother, big sister program for a teenager, or at least go to a group home in a county near you and see if you can sign up for their mentorship program. Like, that's the thing, is that there's so few people that are willing to put action behind their words. And you can critique my actions, and you can critique my wording and my way of sharing my heart and my way of bringing awareness to foster care if you feel like I'm not doing it the right way, or if I am going about it wrong. Like, you can critique away on that, but do not for a second critique my heart on this, and do not for a second critique my intentions, because one, it's something that you don't know about, and two, I'm trying. Like, if I didn't care, I would not have said yes to a placement the next day. I would have wanted to take a break and a breather. And then the final point was that I don't broadcast a lot that my husband does what he does. I do it enough so people understand that he's military. He was gone the entire time that C was here. So that's the thing, is that I was on my own trying to care for him and a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. There was nobody that was backup. There was nobody that could ensure that I was physically safe. So that's another point. I'm really glad that there's a conversation, but if you wouldn't say it to someone's face, it's not okay to type it online. Like, I know I'm like preaching to the choir of the Facebook troll thing, but really, like, you don't know some of these, and I'm not even just talking about me, because I really am getting thick skin about this, but some of the other foster moms that are commenting and saying, thank you for sharing this. Like, I had to disrupt a placement, and like, I felt so alone because I've never wanted to talk to about anybody. If you comment underneath that mom and you start ripping her something, it's wrong. It's wrong. If you couldn't look in someone's eyes and tell them something, then you don't need to type it online. So that's my, I guess, my little preaching soapbox thing. So to wrap it all up, it wasn't the first incident. It was the final incident. We still are in touch. Things are okay. We are building relationships, and I'm continuing fostering because I believe in this. Having 30,000 likes on Facebook doesn't do anything for my life positively. It doesn't help my ego. It shows me that people are interested in the foster care life, and it shows me that there are people out there that want to know more about foster care. That's what it shows me. It has nothing to do with me as a person. It has to do with foster care and how little information there is. And then again, I guess, channel however you're feeling and however you want to respond to me and what I am doing in my journey by jumping in. And if you can't be a foster care parent, there are so many other ways that you can help kids in foster care, especially teens. I've had a lot of teens reach out to me that are currently in foster care. I posted from one, Miss Emily, I met while she was at a group home in my state. And just being able to have a dialogue with her and be able to talk to her and be there for when she needs me, she says has really meant a lot. So find someone like that in your area. And yeah, let's keep it just nice. You don't have to agree with me whatsoever. You don't. You really, really don't. But let's talk about foster care with a constructive conversation, not personal attacks and not jumping to conclusions. And I'm going to keep doing what I do, which is just sharing my side of the story, my life. Yes, it's going to involve children, but I'm not sharing their personal information and I'm not sharing their personal feelings or struggles. I'm sharing how I react to situations. I'm sharing how I responded, and I'm sharing the outcomes of different situations. So anyway, thank you for your support. If you don't support me, please jump into foster care and show me how you would do it so differently. If you have constructive criticism or ways that you think I could learn more or benefit more, I am all about doing that. I was actually, ironically, at a conference that I paid to go to. It was Empowered to Connect, which I highly recommend to anybody. And I got called out of that conference by the police to come and pick up C. So I missed out part of that, but I got notes from friends and I went back the next day. So don't judge someone, don't be hateful, and do something to involve yourself in foster care, okay? Bye.